It's next to that salon you sold.
Call the meeting to order. Let's pray. Dear Lord, we just thank you for this time to come together and do the work for the city. Lord, we just pray that you look over us tonight, look over our plans and thoughts, and just help guide us in the right direction. Lord, we just ask these things in your name. Amen. The record reflect all council members present. We need approval of the agenda.
Move to approve, Mayor.
Motion by Mr. Adcock.
Second.
Second by Mr. Little. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda passes. Now we need a motion for the approval of the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Little.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bradley. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Moving to the public forum, we have 4 people signed up for public comment. 2 of these we're going to wait until they actually get down in the agenda. The first one is Jim Brown. Come to the podium and state your name in 3 minutes, please, sir.
I got it down to 2. I come as a concerned citizen, resident of Monroe, and a contiguous property owner to a piece of property that's going to be, y'all are looking at, to be rezoned and potentially annexed into the city. High density for potential 5 acres on 9 acres of that 32 acres. I'm not a tree hugger, but a conservationist, an agriculturist, and proponent of good, solid land use planning. I'm opposed to this and do not think this is in the best interest of our city. This is a proposed annex, the result of a contiguous piece of property, a little sliver of about 600 or so feet out into the county on the lower corner of the other property. To reach this piece of property, for police, fire, and city services, you got to travel outside of the city, down to what we call the Good Hope Road at east, and then turn south onto a county road, and then about a little less than a half a mile to get to this piece of property from the entrance. I'm opposed to even annexing the property, but if brought back into the city at 3 houses per acre, via, I understand, the city ordinance with sewage, which is still about a third more dense than the Crystal Brook development, which is in the county, that is adjacent. They have 2 houses per acre according to Mike Martin. They are on city sewage with grandfathered in. I'm assuming if they do annex and build, there will be nice sidewalks out along Gene Bell Road. But this potential density, however, if it goes through, it does open up another can of worms for me and my brother. Because if this goes through with this kind of density, we could come back to y'all and ask to build about 700 to 900 houses on about 180 acres. But we're planting pine trees out there and pasture land because we think that is the highest and best use for this property in this area for the next 20 years. I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Next, we have Minister Reba Green.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hi. I'm here as a concerned citizen. My concern is that we know that October is Domestic Violence Month. Domestic violence doesn't start on October 31st, but it's here, it's going on 365 days a year. And the thing about my concern is like that by not stopping there, it's happening in the homes. And like more than 3 women a day is being murdered because of domestic violence, and it's a concern. Because if that woman have children, we don't know whether that child is going to become a perpetrator or a victim of what they witnessed. And also like in the high schools, 1 out of every 5 or 6 students is being abused, whether verbally or being threatened with it. And it's a concern, and my concern is like we don't hear about it as much as we used to. We don't hear about domestic violence the way we used to hear about it. And I'm asking that if the citizens, if the concerned citizens, the businesses could put either a pamphlet or something in their business to advertise it, or a 1-800 number or something, because even in the workplaces, it's happening every day in the workplaces. And by happening that, we don't know what's going on, and they could come to you with a smile on your face. So what does they have to go home to? Even in churches, if the church could start preaching about it, you know, no longer sweep it under the rug, but start ministering about it maybe once a month or once a week, because it's happening. And that's an issue, it's rising because the economy is getting so bad that the tension is building up in the homes. And my thing today is like that each one just take this into consideration, that you publicize it more, you know, put it in the newspaper, in your businesses, because it's happening and we can't get away from it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we're moving to the public hearings. We have a rezone annexation of 389 Jean Bell Road and 0 Jean Bell Road. Patrick.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. As you stated, we've got these two applications that are being considered as one zoning and annexation action. It's petition 1500294 and 1500295. It's a total of 32.08 acres, comprised of two parcels, one 5 acres, one 27.08. The applicant, Darrell Perry, requested rezone and annexation for property located at the before stated addresses 389 Jean Bell Road and 0 Jean Bell Road. The property has 300 feet of road frontage on Jean Bell Road on the 5 acres, and it has other application 200 feet additional road frontage on Jean Bell Road. Property is presently zoned R1 County. The requested zoning classification is R1A in the city zoning. The requested zoning will permit a use that's suitable in use of the adjacent and nearby properties. A change of zoning will not adversely affect the adjacent properties. Subject property does have restricted economic use. It's currently zoned. The change of zoning will not cause excessive or burdensome use of streets, transportation facilities, utilities, or schools. The property is in the county, therefore the future land use plan does not apply to that property as of yet. The recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission was for approval. The code enforcement's recommendation was for approval as well, understanding that it may not be able to be in at the density that's requested. We're also recommending that if there's any conditions that would be acceptable, that they be presented to the applicant. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
And this is 5 units today?
5 units per acre at R1A, yes ma'am.
When Mr. Brown spoke a few minutes ago, he mentioned the adjacent property was built 2 houses per acre. Is that your understanding?
Crystal Brook, I don't really have an understanding of that since it's in the county. I looked at it on the tax maps this afternoon, and they have lots anywhere from slightly over 1 acre down to about 1/3 of an acre. So it probably does average out close to what he calculated.
Okay, public hearing, so we'll ask the property owners here, if anyone would like to speak for this rezone on 389 0 Jean Bell. State your name, address, and you'll have 10 minutes, please.
Okay, my name is Darrell Perry, and I'm here for the annex and rezone. You know, we was here last month, and I think Ms. Malcolm asked to see a plan, and I don't know if y'all have got a copy of the plan or not, but does everybody have one? I mean, anyway, so I got that, and I just was trying to re-look at this thing and see exactly what we can do, you know, as far as trying to get annexed into the city. And, you know, it's not you know, I'm not here to upset other folks because I know there's folks here that's upset about this. You know, I'm just, I bought this property with the intentions to try to develop it. You know, like I said last time, you know, I mean, I looked at, things changed when I first bought the property, in that the floodplain area all changed. And that's the only reason that, I mean, as far as a R1 zoning, you know, just a regular 1 to the acre would not work on the property because of all the area that had changed because of the floodplain. And if y'all got the plan there, you can see how much floodplain that we actually lost because of that. So that's the only reason that I was asking for the R1A, which I know how he calculated the thing, come up roughly 5, you know, I'm asking for like 1 point, I think it works out for 32 acres at like 1.4 lots to the acre instead of the 5 that I know is actually you can get with that type zoning. So if you get the R1, you know, because of the depths of the lots and all that stuff, it just wouldn't work out. And that's the reason that I was asking for the R1A. But, you know, if there was anything that, I mean, you know, that we could not put any more than the 45 lots in there, you know, I mean, I wouldn't have a problem, you know, signing something or doing anything on that. And that's pretty much it.
Anybody have any questions?
And I noticed that it's proposed to be a private road development and gated.
No, I never did say that, Ms. Malcolm.
That's what's on the plans.
It's on the plan.
In the text box.
Note number 12.
To be gated, the streets within the development are to be private. And there again, that's another, you know, can be a problem for our police and fire.
Right,
For
right.
access, plus that creates the issue of the property owners having to maintain the streets.
Yes, ma'am, I understand that. And I mean, if we can, I mean, I definitely would like to strike that. I mean, regardless of what the zoning would be. Because I definitely understand that. And it would not be a gated community. You know, like I said, when I first bought this thing, because of the zoning that backed up to me, you know, I mean, it's like a mixed unit deal. I mean, I think it's got several different type structures can be built on the one that's actually behind this property that actually touches my property. I think it had it where you could have like commercial in the front and like townhouses on part of it and smaller houses and then like bigger houses. You know, different sizes. I think what actually backs up to my property here. And so with that in mind, I mean, I felt like that this would not be, you know, asking that much to for the R1A, but only being able to get roughly 45 lots.
Patrick, what square footage did you? What's the minimum square footage in the zoning he's proposing?
The minimum
Square footage of the house.
1,300 square feet.
But his plan,
It says 60.
he's got 1,600 on his notes.
Yeah, and I did actually tell him that I would put 1,600 in there.
All right.
And that would fit with the setbacks.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
But I'm not sure I understand, because last time when you were here, I thought I heard you say at that time that your goal was to sell this property, not develop it. Did I misunderstand?
No, sir. That's, I mean, you know, it's like this, Mr. Bradley. I mean, if I can't, I would like to sell it, you know, but this, you know, everything that we're talking about here, I would put in the if I got a contract with somebody, would be put in there with them, and they'd have to understand that. And plus, they're going to still have to come back and, I realize, I mean, I'm not asking to actually have this thing, for the plan, you know what I'm saying, to actually, I know you have to go before another, I guess, a committee to have everything, the plans re-looked at by the development authority of the city or what have you. I mean, I know that would have to be done, but everything that we spoke on tonight, 1,600 square foot, all this stuff would be put in the thing if I sold it. But to answer your question, I would like to sell it, but if I don't, then I guess I'd, develop it or what have you there. But I mean, that's kind of where it's at. I mean, I would either sell it or develop it. If somebody here want to buy it, I mean, I'd sell it tonight.
But isn't your goal just to get on the sewer, really? That's all you're after right now?
Yeah,
You
yes,
don't have
Nathan.
a buyer, you don't really...
Yeah, no, I don't have a buyer. I don't have a buyer on it or anything, but that's the main objective because.
Well, can't you just sell it on the premise of, hey, sewer runs through my property? We can probably get on sewer if you propose something that the city will.
Well, see, that was the thing there, because if it was not in the city, we were told that you could not actually hook on to the sewer.
No, that's true, but I'm saying, can't you just work on selling the property just like it sits today, under the premise that when you find a buyer, y'all come with a plan that you're actually going to do?
Well, I mean, I guess so, but I mean, it's just, I think if it was annexed, I mean, into the city, I mean, when everything, I just think it looks better to a buyer,
If we annexed it into a less restrictive or less density zoning, that would allow you to say you've got sewage connections, and then a buyer could come back with specific plans, I guess, for development, correct?
Well, would they not? I mean, they'd still be wanting. I mean, because with the amount of money that's in the property and everything, I don't know if they could make it work. With a less density. I mean, that was the only reason that I was trying to get to R1A, because when we looked at it originally, all the floodplain, all the area across the creek was actually going to be able. As we looked at it, and as an engineer looked at it, it looked like all that was going to be able to be developed. And then, when we had the big floods, I guess probably, I'm thinking 8 years ago, and they went back and FEMA changed all the flood area. And that of course, killed us as far as making the land work.
Any more questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else like to speak for this rezone or annexation? Anybody like to speak against this rezone annexation? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the hearing and bring it before council. We need a motion on rezoning for 389 and 0 G Bell Road.
I mean, I guess just for the matter of record, when Mr. Brown spoke during public comments, but it really was opposition to this.
That's correct, yeah.
I'm going to offer a motion to deny based on the fact that from a standpoint of safety and from the standpoint of the density versus the distance that the police would have to travel to service the area, and just the fact that there's so many unknowns.
We have a motion by Mr. Malcolm.
I'll second.
We have a second by Mr. Adcock. Any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor? All opposed? This motion is denied.
You need a motion on the request to annex.
Okay, that was my next one. Need a motion to annex 389 Jean Bell Road and 0 Jean Bell Road.
Motion to deny, Mayor.
Motion by Mr. Adcock.
Second.
Second by Mr. Little. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? No motion is denied. Item B, zoning ordinance for the code text amendments.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. Thank you again. This is basically just an application by the city to change its own zoning ordinance to clear up some text amendments that need to be done to clear up potential interpretation errors or Scrivener's errors. And it is permit number 1500358, which we'll be having the first reading on here momentarily.
This would be the public hearing, Mayor. Offer an opportunity for those to speak in favor.
Second. We have an open hearing up for anybody who would like to speak for the zoning ordinance code text amendments. Would anyone like to speak against the zoning ordinance code text amendments? Okay, we'll close this part of the public hearing. We need a motion.
You don't need a motion.
Don't need a motion. All right, so now we'll move into new business, application beer and wine package sales, Al Cody Grocery, a business owner here. Okay,
The application is in order, Mayor.
all right, the application is in order. Need a motion from council?
I move approval.
Motion by Mr. Bradley,
Second.
second by Mr. Richardson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? That passes. We have item number 2 is application for beer and wine package sales at Chestnut Cover. Is the business owner here? Okay.
That application is in order, Mayor.
All right, that application's in order. Need a motion from the council.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Richardson,
Second.
second by Ms. Malcolm. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? That passes. Item number 3 is request from the Monroe Walking Properties Conditional Development Agreement.
Mayor, I'll take that one. This is, if you recall from last week, this is a request to amend or to really get out of the agreement with this particular entity. Back in 2012, the agreement was that we would take over Georgia Avenue, which is the road out of the county building, with the understanding and the expectation that should the property be developed, that the developer would install the sidewalk on the opposite side of the road as well as street lighting. And Mr. Baker, who's again here this evening, has requested to, he's asking out of this agreement where he has put the land, I believe, in a historic trust, conservation easement. And so it will never be developed. And therefore, he is asking for us to waive the requirements for installing the additional sidewalk as well as street lighting on both sides of the road.
Anybody have any questions or comments?
I have a question for Mr. Rosenthal, maybe.
Yes, sir.
In reading that agreement, it's got time frames and when certain things would happen and be executed. And I'm not sure I read it correctly, but maybe those time frames have already expired?
No.
They have not.
No, what time frames are you referring to? There were certain things that had to be done back at the beginning, if you will, so that the right-of-way could be accepted that related to fronting some certified funds to cover, I believe, some paving and I believe some telecom and electrical infrastructure. That was sort of hard money that had to be put up for that to be done at the very beginning. And Mr. Thompson may even remember some of that. Then there was the second part, which was there will be work done in the future, but we're just going to require a letter of credit rather than hard funds to deal with that, and that was, as I recall, the streetlights and the sidewalks, and it was about $30,000 or $40,000, $43,000, it looks like, letter of credit for the future installation of the sidewalks and streetlights.
I guess I was going, and I'm not arguing for or against this thing, I just want to be sure I understand the agreement. I thought it was said like within 33 months, sidewalks will be installed or something to that effect. There's some things like, time frames like that. I just want to be sure that we're within the time frames that we have the legal authority to grant this waiver.
Ask that question again, I'm sorry. You want to make sure that you're within the legal authority.
If certain things, if the time frame for actions to have occurred have expired, and maybe they haven't, maybe I'm reading it incorrectly, but if they have expired, would we be within our legal rights to grant this request?
You're within your legal rights to grant this request regardless.
Okay.
Because you have the legislative purview.
That's
The
fine.
issue is the legislative decision. And the question becomes, will there ever be a need for street light? Is there a need today, or will there be a need in the future for street lights and sidewalks on that? I guess it's the north or the west side of that Georgia Avenue.
Any other questions?
Are there any street lights on that street other than the parking?
There are existing lights in the parking lot, back up to the sidewalks.
They light the street?
They're behind the road.
They're behind a row of oaks, and they don't light the street. We're not necessarily, in this instance, trying to, in my opinion, light the street. It would be more likely pedestrian lighting for the sidewalk, and that's a perception. That is it lighted per what the DOT would say? No. But is it lighted where you can see the sidewalk? Yes.
At this time, with the trees the size they are.
Right. And I think that would actually, this might get better as the trees get taller, because they're going to get the foliage, as long as they're trimmed by the county, those are the county's trees, they will get taller than the fixture. Right now, the main bough of that tree is right there at the light. As it gets taller, it will probably get better as long as the county keeps them trimmed correctly. But that is a county tree.
Well, why didn't those street lights, Patrick, go in simultaneous with the sidewalks being poured?
Because it was agreed to allow them to put up this letter of credit in lieu of installation at that time. And then eventually it would be done based on this letter of credit. When the additional development began on the other side of the street, those sidewalks and street lights would go on that side, and the street lights would go on the side where they're not right now.
The thinking was, as that developed, if you're lighting both sides of the street, it's a whole different plan, or lighting a photometric study, than if you're just lighting one side of the street. If you have sidewalks on both sides, your photometric study is completely different than it would be if we just wait until the sidewalk or that other side was developed. Everything goes in at once, so you do one photometric study.
I mean, I just have a problem that we've got partial sidewalks, an agreement that there would be streetlights there, and if we waive this, we never get those sidewalks lit.
Now, one thing to remember, if you look at that number that was estimated for the streetlights, that number is basically cut in half, because you only have sidewalks on half of the
Right,
street.
I understand that.
So that wouldn't be, that whole number is not what the whole project would be.
I don't know
So
how
this-
anybody else feels about it.
This agreement was to allow the street lights for both sides of the street.
Yes, sir.
And sidewalks.
When the
Other side.
undeveloped side was developed.
Yes, sir.
But if I can clarify on that, it was to give them time to put them in while it was developed. But if it did not develop, the way that it reads, to kind of go to the timing a little bit, because it has been a little while since we drafted this, it was supposed to be put in within 33 months. Then after after that 33 months period passes, the city now, and it has passed, the city now has the right, should it choose, to go ahead and have the streetlights put in, have the sidewalks put in, and charge against the 2 letter of credits that the developer has posted, should the city decide to do that. That's within the city's purview to do in accordance with the terms of this agreement.
And that's the time limit I was talking about.
Correct.
Okay.
But why wouldn't the city?
Streetlights put in on the side where the sidewalks are now. I mean, that seems to be what the concern is. You can't see a pedestrian where the sidewalks are. So, should that be, I think that's what some of the council is asking. We need to have the sidewalks lit up like they're supposed to be. And I think that's the question. You know, I don't think the other side of the road where there's no sidewalk, where somebody shouldn't be walking anyway, is a big problem. But where you got a sidewalk, that may be lit. And I need some questions on how to handle that.
Well, I think you're right. And I think that if the original plan called for lights on both sides of the street, okay, we're not going to develop one side, but that doesn't alleviate the problem on the side that there is sidewalk.
I think we need a motion to table this and discuss.
Say something?
Yeah, you come on up to the podium since we are trying to figure out what's going on.
The reason we asked for this to be done the way it was done was because in the future we were thinking, as now that's not going to be developed, it's going to remain a field, but we wouldn't know exactly what would go in, and sidewalks may need to be bigger than 5 feet. They would change, and the street lights, as Brian was saying, we just didn't want to set anything without knowing what was going to go in the future. And so it's really pretty light out there. I mean, there's a bunch of lights in that parking lot. But that's why we're asking this, because just like we didn't know what would happen in the future, now I can tell you for a fact what's going to happen in the future, and it's going to remain a field. And so that's why we've asked for this.
And that's fine, but I think the concern would be is the sidewalks that are in there, and I think we need to table this and do a study on it, go out there and look at it.
I can do a photometric study on it.
I think that's what we need to do, because if sidewalks are needed on that side, I think it needs to be, I mean, streetlights are needed on that side, I think it needs to be put in where the sidewalks already exist. And that was the agreement of this letter of credit. And just to say that it's light out there or it's not light out there, I think we need to know definitely. So I think we need to table this and let's do some studying on it and get some information where we know what we're talking about.
I have Resco, they have their own in-house photometric people. They are one of the vendors that we buy the standard light that we've been buying from for a while, and they'll do that study for free.
Will they do a lighting plan to say this is how much?
They'll do that for free.
All right.
No cost to see.
I want a motion to table this one.
So moved.
Motion tabled on this one.
Second.
Second by Mr. Little.
I want to ask Mr. Baker one more question, that the conservancy or the whatever, is that such a way that is always a field, or could it be trails, or could it be, could it be used for passive walking?
Here's the 30-page document. And it can be used so long as it remains. You can't just go put a trail out there. There's requirements you have to do. And I don't know exactly what they are. There's one home building site that's further down Baker Street. And then its intent is to preserve it as it sits today, to preserve green space and open space.
Would it just grow up, trees and bushes and stuff?
No, they cut hay on it here recently. and you can continue to farm it. Farming is an allowable activity. So what's been used in the past is what it would continue to be, unless I guess you could plant crops on it if you wanted to.
Or trees.
Or trees. Mm-hmm. I think for that you'd have to do a management plan. You couldn't just go out there and plant them.
Okay. We have a motion and a second on the table. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed?
Thank you.
Item number 4 is a discussion of civil air patrol lease agreements.
Mayor, I'll take that as well. Just real briefly before I have Major Lyles come up and speak, they are requesting to occupy units 201 and 210, as well as a small storage unit in the basement at our Church Street Community Building. And you know, again, we're trying to get them located out at the airport. At this time, there's not an opportunity or a facility that we have for them, but you know, it's my request that we welcome them into the city and then work diligently on trying to relocate them to the airport where they probably want to be even more so. But I'll have Major Lyles come up. And, you'd asked to have somebody here to basically explain what the Civil Air Patrol is, and Major Lyles.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, City Council members, my name is Lawrence Lyles, and today in Civil Air Patrol I hold the rank of Major. I'm also today the commander of Squadron 142. Civil Air Patrol has a history. It was started back in World War II. Matter of fact, it was formed by some members who loved to fly. They wanted to put something back into the country 1 week prior to the bombing of Pearl Harbor. In 1946, President Truman signed it into law, making it a nonprofit organization. Civil Air Patrol has 3 main purposes. It's aerospace education, cadet program, and emergencies. In aerospace education, it's more so geared toward teaching individuals about Civil Air Patrol and the functions of which covers aerospace education. On the cadet program, as you saw earlier, my cadet master sergeant passed you out these forms or written information based on Civil Air Patrol that you can read further into. We have that program which we have cadets. The ages being starting at 12 and go up as high as 21 if they're still in school. If they get out of college or get out of school, high school, they have to become a member, senior member, we call it senior member, and they hold the rank of second lieutenant or a flight officer. The other one is emergency services. As you can see, we do search and rescue, disaster relief, humanitarian services. We also support the Air Force. We also are an auxiliary of the Air Force, and we do counter drugs. So I'm here today to answer any questions that you may have pertaining to Civil Air Patrol. And Mr. Chance has stated, we're looking to want to move here to Monroe, support the city in whatever endeavor we can, and hopefully prosper, move out to the airport. Doing so, we're looking at bringing in, or can bring in, I do know you got a fuel farm you just built out there. Well, Civil Air Patrol has a function called SARACs. These SARACs are done monthly or in intervals of 6 months, and it's an exercise that we do, search and rescue exercise that we do with our planes and other units. You're looking at Georgia itself has some 200 and some odd squadrons. There are 52 statewide Civil Air Patrols which come up on the headquarters, and headquarters is located in Maxwell and Montgomery. So there you have it.
How many do you have locally here that's involved in Civil Air Patrol?
When you're saying here, you now right now we're at in Loganville. But
where you're at?
Yeah. Okay. Where we have 10 cadets on our records and 10 senior members. and we're looking to grow. That's one reason we more so came over and approached Monroe. We were looking at probably going out talking to the schools. We've spoken to some other church communities here that have asked us some questions about what we do and how we do with the young folks, that we try to, let's say, groom to become a better citizen.
Do you have any plans?
Overall, we do. The squadron does. And when I say the squadron, we're looking at out at Gwinnett, which is the airport at Gwinnett. Just 2 planes there. We have a plane with PDK. I would say overall, we may have about 7 planes within the state itself. And we also have gliders. So,
You said you meet every Tuesday.
every Tuesday.
Can you kind of just give them just a brief overview about what the meetings?
Okay. Well, like tonight, we have a meeting going on tonight, which I have somebody representing me based on me not being there. But we meet every Tuesday night. We start at 7 o'clock. The first weekend of the month, we will call PT. The cadets go through a series of tests on PT, physical part of PT. They do sit-ups, push-ups. They do a mile run. And also they do, help me out here. Sit and reach, thank you. Sit and reach. Okay, second night, the second night consists of aerospace education, where we get into having the cadets themselves instruct the cadets, the high-level cadets that we have here, that will teach them leadership. We got leadership and aerospace education. On the third night, we have what is called testing. Let's give the cadets an opportunity. We have 3 tests that are cumulative on the tests that they take online. And those tests promotes them up to the next highest rank. So the third week is given the opportunity, along with aerospace education, to allow them to test. The fourth week, again, we get into more of having character development, safety meetings, and they in turn, as you can see how he is dressed today, they dress and they come in their blues. In doing so, they have inspection with the blues. So now you got 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. So all those 4 weeks, there's different activities going on. Give you somewhat what we did last year. Last year, I took them on a trip to Charleston, where they spent the weekend on the aircraft carrier. I think Mr. Batchelor attended, so he was one of the cadets that went. Looking to try and get them to Alabama this year. Keep your fingers crossed.
Any more questions? Thank you very much.
I thank you for the presentation that I'm given and the opportunity for you giving me to be here.
All right. I need to entertain a motion on the lease agreement.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Perkins,
Second.
second by Ms. Malcolm. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Congratulations, we're looking forward to it, and I hope you get 100 youth in there.
Well, me too, and my next crossroads to get this back and get it to headquarters.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item number 5 is discussion development agreements.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll take that as well. If you recall, we had 3 discussions last week on 3 separate agreements. I've asked Mr. Rao to come and just give us a brief update on Project K. And so.
Mr. Mayor, Council, thank y'all for having me. Wanted to give y'all an update on Project K. That's store number 768 for your information. Basically, I'm going to give you a timeline of what's going on right now with the project. We are currently working on the road financing and the legals for this 70-acre development that fronts US 78. The city is currently working on the JDA agreement, and we've got several drafts of that going right now. I've received an engineering proposal from Precision. We're looking at an 8 to 12 week turnaround based on the project itself. and we should have that through by March or April of this year. Midway through this process, we should have the preliminary design in about 6 weeks, and this will allow us to get over to utility guys over here and discuss all the utility issues that are pending. Keep in mind that the sewer plans have already been completed. Everything's done, all the engineering is just pending review with the city. We also are going to get into contract bidding probably in April or May of this project, and we should start the road probably in June or July of this summer with a 4 to 6 month construction period ending around December of this year. We anticipate that Kroger, in this case, will be acquiring the property in September, October, pending the contract. Could happen earlier, though, in the time frame. And we estimate that this is going to take them 10 months to build this facility, which is going to be about a $30 million facility, and they should be completed by the summer of 2017. Relative to Kroger, we know that their fiscal budget right now starts February the 1st. They kind of push things back after Christmas and New Year's, so their new budget comes out February 1. Sofran yesterday met with Kroger, with Jerry Morton, who's the Executive Vice President, and also Bruce Lucia, and Ron Hawkins, who's the Real Estate Director at Kroger, and they discussed this project here in Monroe. The press release has already been completed, pending approval from Kroger, and we have requested that Kroger provide a letter to the city and us relative to this project and their commitment to store number 768. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I know it's kind of brief, but any questions on that? Okay.
I don't believe so.
All right, thank you. We'll keep you posted.
And the site location is still?
Still US 78, yes ma'am. That's correct. Absolutely. Any other questions?
Just to tag along as onto what Lee was saying, the city is basically committed and will commit in this development agreement to the $1.3 million infrastructure
project
improvement to the site once Kroger executes their side of the agreement. And also we'll be waiting on plans from the engineer. We'll give those to our utility department. They'll put utilities on there, which will also be submitted in digital files as well. So
that's right.
There'll be several exhibits to this agreement, but as Lee said, it's going back and forth between the city attorneys and myself and Lee, and we'll continue to massage this thing until it's ready to go.
Absolutely. Any other questions? Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then the other two development agreements, just a real brief update. We are currently waiting to hear from the attorney on one of the properties to annex, and we're also waiting on the engineers to finish the plans for this sewer main and pump station. So again, I'm going to request that we not take any action until we receive the plans, which should be this Friday. And I may even have our engineers come first Tuesday in February to present those plans. They'll have a cost proposal, so then we'll know more about what we're looking at in these agreements.
Okay. No action on this one here. Item number 6, approval of the Main Street Program Memorandum of Understanding.
You want to say a few words?
This is the annual agreement between our DDA board, which acts as our Main Street board locally, DCA, the Department of Community Affairs, and the city. And it outlines responsibilities of each of those parties to maintain our designation as a Main Street community.
Okay. Anybody have any questions to say?
Do you know currently how many Main Street communities are designated in Georgia right now?
No. But I can get that for you, only because the national designations have just changed and they revamped the Georgia system last year. They've done it in tiers where there's a Georgia Exceptional Main Street. You have to be a Main Street community for more than 10 years to qualify for that. There's the Classic Main Street program, which is what we are, and there's a downtown affiliate network, which is where they don't have full-time staff, they don't do the reporting, they don't have as many accountability measures for the quality of it.
Who is our designated Main Street director?
Right now, that's me.
Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, we need a motion on this Main Street program.
Move approval.
Motion by Mr. Bradley,
Second.
second by Ms. Malcolm. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? That passes.
Thank you.
Item number 7, we have 3 appointments to the Downtown Development Authority. Mike Gray, Carol Yates, and Charles Sanders. You see their bios there in your packet, and all 3 have expressed interest to be reappointed. We need motions for all 3. We'll start with just entertain motion.
I move that Mike Gray be reappointed.
Have a motion by Mr. Bradley,
Second.
second by Mr. Little. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that carries. Mike Gray is reappointed.
I move Carolyn Yates be reappointed, Mayor.
Motion by Mr. Little,
Second.
second by Curtis. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? That passes. Item, need a motion for another one.
Motion, go ahead.
Move to reappoint Charles Sanders.
Have a motion by Mr. Adcock,
Second.
second by Ms. Malcolm. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? That passes. Item number 8 is resolution for the Open Records Officer.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Monroe, Georgia, for the purpose of naming an open records officer, an alternate open records officer, and for other purposes. Whereas the provisions of the Georgia Open Records Act, the Act, were amended by the action of the Georgia Legislature during the 2012 session, and whereas one of the changes of the Act allows for the appointment of an open records officer to whom all requests for records must be made, and whereas a further change of the Act provides that a municipal corporation may require all requests made under the Act to be made in writing, and whereas the Act further provides for the notice of such change, now therefore pursuant to the provisions of the Act, the City Council of the City of Monroe, the governing body of the City of Monroe, does hereby resolve as follows. 1. The City Administrator is designated as the Open Records Officer, and the City Clerk is designated as the alternate Open Records Officer to act in the absence of the City Administrator, both to act for the City of Monroe, Georgia, and for all of its related and subsidiary entities as defined in the Act. 2. All requests for records made under the Act directed to the City of Monroe shall be made in writing to the Open Records Officer or in his absence to the alternate Records Officer. 3. The Open Records Officer is directed to cause all City of Monroe websites to prominently display this designation and requirement. 4. The Open Records Officer is directed to notify the Walton Tribune as the county legal organ and any other media regularly covering the City of Monroe matters of the content of this resolution. 5. The Open Records Officer is directed to notify the City of Monroe employees and volunteers that any requests made under the Act shall be directed to the Open Records Officer or in his absence to the alternate Records Officer. And 6. This action shall be effective immediately upon the notifications to the media and the changes to the website having been made. So resolved this 12th day of January 2016. That is the resolution, Mayor.
Okay. Any questions? Hearing none, all need a motion.
Move to approve the Open Records Officer resolution.
Motion by Mr. Wilson. Second by Mr. Adcock. All in favor? Any opposed? That resolution passes. Item number 9 is first reading of the zoning ordinance code text amendments.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance of the City of Monroe, Georgia. The Mayor and the Council of the City of Monroe, Georgia hereby ordain as follows. The zoning ordinance of the City of Monroe, officially adopted June 10, 2014 and effective July 1, 2014, as thereafter amended, is hereby amended by implementing the text amendments and changes outlined and identified in particular detail on Exhibit A, which such exhibit is incorporated herein by reference. All ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby repealed. These text amendments of the City of Monroe zoning ordinance shall take effect upon their adoption by the mayor and council, referencing Exhibit A, Amendment 2, dated February 9, 2016, Amendment 1, Amendment 2, Amendment 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. This constitutes the first reading, Mayor, on the 12th of January, 2016.
Okay, thank you. That was the first reading, and that's going to conclude our regular meeting. We're going to need a motion to adjourn into executive session. Motion by Mr. Richardson, second by Ms. Malcolm. All in favor? We'll take about a 2 or 3 minute break and then we'll adjourn.